What do you do anyway?
I'm a writer, I guess.
Yes, don't you know?
You get 2 sheets every Saturday. You put the clean sheet in the top sheet in the bottom sheet you turn in the laundry board. Any man turns in the wrong sheet spends the night in the box. No one will sit in the bunks with dirty pants on. Any man with dirty pants on sitting on the bunk spends the night in the box. Any man don't bring back his empty pop bottle spends the night in the box. Any man loud talking spends the night in the box.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got him, with Senator Jeff Howe on the program. Great guy, service member. We appreciate his service. I think we need more boxes, Senator. We got to put more people in the box, my friend. Your thoughts?
That's a great idea. I love that piece of film. That is
Cool Hand Luke. Oh yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
There are so many good.
Boss. Yeah.
Here's the latest. We call you Colonel DOGE on the program as you go out there and finding all this waste and stuff. I don't think most people have heard this unless you listen to KARE 11 News the other night. They are, Coach, everybody's trying to figure out what to do with waste, fraud, and abuse. The latest is exposed alleged fraud. This is from KARE 11 in the state's Housing Stabilization Services Program. I don't know exactly what it does, but basically it takes the hardest hit among us, the disabled, the mentally disabled, the elderly, and I guess it supplements their income to pay for housing, right? I mean, keep them in their homes. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes. Yeah.
And guess what? It's being ripped off for millions of dollars in the state of Minnesota. Color me shocked. Oh,
shocked.
Kidding me? What are we going to do, sir? You got to stop.
Well, it's, the thing is, and the governor, he took these folks out of the Commerce Fraud Bureau and moved them over to the BCA to fight white collar crime altogether. Well, and these guys are fighting white collar crime, right? These guys are supposed to be, they're the financial experts to look at the books and figure out where the money's going. And I heard the other day, one of them, he was saying, we're training to put gas masks on. Wait, what are we doing? And they haven't dug into any of that stuff that they're talking about because that's not their realm. They're getting paid they're getting paid by the insurance company to do insurance fraud. I tell you what, I think what we should do is take all of those folks, all of the BCA, and if we get this done with the Office of Inspector General, move them all over there and let them operate there where they can all look for white collar crime, and we can fix some of this stuff. I mean, it just goes to show you, I don't care what agency you pick, Al. Yeah. We're rampant because nobody's putting any oversight. They're just handing out, taking care of people, and I think if we really do the job, we'd find where that money funnels right back into campaigns.
See, but maybe all that ends up in that place. But here's my point: the Department of Human Services acknowledged that the program's rapid and unexpected growth outpaced its ability to oversight it. This is what happens when you try to spend $18 billion because you got to hang it around. So you say, we're going to throw it. It's like feeding our futures, right? Billions of dollars come flying in. Well, what do we got to do? We got to throw it out the window and hope it lands where we want it. The fact the Department of Human Services can literally say, well, it was more money than we can spend. Whose job, governor? Whose job, head of DHS, is to say, whoa, Nelly, we can't spend it this fast. Let's hire some people, do whatever you got to do. But you don't just throw it against the wall.
And that's what people need to remember. This all happened under this administration. They all work for the governor. The old deal, the buck stops here. The buck stops right in his office because he hires all these folks, and he's expecting them to provide the oversight and the management. Now, if they've got issues, they should be talking to them, shouldn't they? Yep. I mean, and he should be asking the questions. How's this going? Where do we see issues?
You say he should expect them to do oversight. I don't think he does. This isn't the first. This isn't the third. This is about the 7th fraud thing we've found. No one cares. No one seems to care about the Al Travis Show. Because here's the next one for you, Senator. Go ahead. You want to say it? Go ahead. I'll get back to my however.
Who's been held accountable? Who's had a letter of reprimand in their file?
Find it. That's my point. He comes out and says, well, at least no one in the state government get accused of anything. Well, it's because you're not going after them. But here's the one that's going to get me, and I want to put it on the record with you and tell me I'm wrong 1 year from now. This paid family leave thing kicks off, where your aunt, your uncle, who you think's like your daddy or whatever. We have no list of what actually counts or doesn't.
My frat brother, yeah.
Yeah, and he's really close to me. He's like my bro. So you get to leave, and you'll do unemployment, and everybody's got to fill in the gaps. They have no clue how big this is going to get, and I'm already figuring it out, sir. This is how they're going to cheat from us. Mark my words. Al's new business is not doing business. I hire one employee, and I say to them, you know what? You're going to make, quote, unquote, $40,000 a year. I'm going to pay the taxes in. I got that 2% I got to pay into this program. You're on, Uncle Jay, your favorite brother-in-law. He got sick. You take the 6 months off. We'll file unemployment. We'll split the 50-50 because I'm only put 2% in. Now I get half of the 220,000 you get. And I'm going to do this 25 times over. And what does Minnesota care if I can come up with enough names? I'll be the second largest employer in Minnesota because I'm just putting in the 2% to get the thousands and thousands out. It's too easy.
You can use those names that they had on Feeding Our Future, right? Or the autism deal. Just take those names and add them in there.
No sense reinventing the wheel. But I don't think it's going to be any harder than that. You watch the fraud run rampant. People think it'll be because I'm just making up names of people I want to take off for. No, it's going to be people running businesses to scam the government just like that. That's my guess.
Here's the deal is I went to I think one of the roadshow things, the first one up in St. Cloud where they had this paid family leave thing, they were putting it out there. And they said to be working hand in hand with the UI folks, right? And they were going to be using that unemployment stuff. So when they are paying their unemployment information, they're going to just take that data so they don't have to recreate the wheel. It'll be easy, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these places will be automatically filed their employees because it'll be easy. Yeah. And as he's talking, I'm looking up the UI. And here they had overspent something like $240 million in UI benefits, and I'm going, oh well, all I can see how this is going to work. You're going to an outfit that already has fraud problems, and now it's just going to be exponential when you move it to another organization. The same people are going to defraud you. It's set up for success. I can see it now.
Oh, absolutely. Let me throw one more at you before we go to the break. It's in the paper today. There are 3 statewide offices, Secretary of State Steve Simon, Auditor Julie Blaha, and Keith Ellison's, that are going to stay with the you can work from home model that we started with COVID. You know, the governor came out and said you got to at least come in at 50%. Do we need to get a Senate and the House? Do we need to get a bill that says, I want our employees back to work? Am I being mean? I get we can work from home, but you can't tell me you work better from home.
I agree. And we've got enough satellite offices out there for different things that they can put a desk someplace and have somebody there. Somebody needs to provide oversight on these people, and you can't do it by Zoom. I don't think you get the synergy by it. I believe that you gain a lot from being at the water cooler together or the coffee. You know, I tell the story about the deal down at one of my exercises where we were missing some missiles, and the guy in the corner overhears it and says, "Hey, my buddy just said he's seen a strange truck with stuff on it." That's how things get fixed. That's where you get the synergy from this stuff, from being in the office.
And I'm not saying some jobs can't. If you're the computer guy who just keeps inserting Microsoft whatever and he can do it from his house, I don't care if it works. But I got to think when you're working with the auditor's office, that's from home, maybe the attorney general, you shouldn't be in an office meeting with people around their desk saying, what's this lawsuit all about? At the same time, Ellison said he didn't know about the Feeding Our Futures people. Maybe if you guys were meeting in face to face, you would have heard the name Feeding Our Futures. I think you got to prove to me you can work from home.
You know, and I'm talking this way, and I've got two of my family members that work from home, but they're both computer people, right? They're both doing stuff that they got projects and they need to get it in and provide an oversight on computer stuff.
there are jobs like that, which, all of a sudden you can say, I inserted Windows 25 and 2,500 computers. You can manage what you're doing with a computer guy. I don't think you can do law. Anyway, maybe it's me. Somebody get it fixed. We got to go to break. We'll be back.
I think let's work on that for next session. All right.
Well, if things go the way I see them going, and we'll talk about it after the break, you might just have one continuous session, buddy. I don't think you guys are going anywhere. More after this with Colonel DOGE.
Dust from gravel roads and driveways does more than make your car dirty inside and out. It gets down into your lungs, and it's bad for your health. Now there's an environmentally friendly solution for your dust problems. It's called DustLock. DustLock can control all your summer dust problems with just one application. Protect your vehicle and your lungs. Learn more at dustlock.com.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
Easily offended? The Al Travis Show is not for you. The Al Travis Show. All sides are welcome.
Great friend of the program. He is Senator Jeff Howe. We call him Colonel DOGE. Colonel, I am seeing nothing that makes me think that you guys are going to go home on time. Even if, I don't even know if it's possible to get home on time on being done on Monday, which is constitutionally when you're supposed to be done. What do you see happening in the next 4 days?
I'll guarantee you at midnight on the 19th, we will sine die and go home. And I would say that somewhere between then and July 1 or June 30th, we will be back to pass a bill, a number of bills to make this all happen. Because the special session is going to happen. And before everybody blows up and says, hey, no extra pay, I will tell you that we'll get paid I think it's $86 a day per diem extra for a special session. If you need me to send that to some charity, you just let me know.
I love that.
There's no reason why we would want to come back down here. I got plans. I got places to go. I got a lawn at the lake that needs to be mowed. I got a business to run. I don't want to be down here
for $87. Let me ask you this though. This is where it gets to me. It seems to break everything we learned in 5th grade civics class. So you guys sine die, which means we're done. We tried what we could. We couldn't get her done. The budget's not done. It has to be, because on June 30th, then state of Minnesota, quote unquote, shuts down. Once you guys leave, sir, if I'm not mistaken, there's no more caucusing. There's no getting together. There's no committees. So the big dogs, the head 2 of the Senate, the head 2 of the House, the head 2, the governor's office, they're going to make everything up. You're going to show up and ask to sign a bill that's going to be 6,500 pages long, and they're going to say, get her done in the next hour and a half, right? That's how this works.
Well, I hate to say it, but under this governor, that's how this has worked.
See this?
And the separation of powers, I think, is the biggest problem I have with it. I believe the legislature should decide what they're going to do, send it to the governor, and the governor can either veto it or sign it. And that's the way it should work. But that's not the way it has worked in the last 6 years. I really have an issue with that. We did do it, I think, when Bach and Doubt were in charge. They made a deal and sent it to the governor, and the governor was forced to do it. And people got to understand, we get a lot of folks that say, just shut the place down. Well, that used to work. That doesn't work anymore, since the Supreme Court says you can't pick and choose what agencies and what functions you're going to continue to have. We have to shut down. So what do you do with the people in prison? You unlock them, let them go? How do you, all the veterans homes, what do you do with this? You can't just shut the place down. So what you're going to do then is we're going to have to go and pass a continuing resolution to keep certain functions operating. And oh my God, if it's one thing I hate at the federal government is these continuing resolutions, right?
I don't disagree.
We need to make this work, but you're right.
I don't disagree, but the process is messed up, sir. How are the head dogs currently on Thursday before Monday when we have to have this done? How can they be sitting there now arguing what the overall structure is going to be, what that number is they got to hit, the targets? How are we talking about that 4 days before we go out? Shouldn't have they gotten together the first time once the Democrats showed up 3 weeks late, if you want to get really technical about it? Once they showed up, powers that be should have got together and said, here's the overall number. This is what we're shooting for. Senate, go do yours. House, do yours. We won't have this cluster.
The House Democrats and Republicans did that, right? They got together and decided on numbers. But the Senate didn't play in that. And that is an issue. And now I don't think they had any I don't know. I'm not in the room, so I don't know who had discussions, but it seemed to me like they didn't want to do it until the governor was involved, and he was tramping all over the place. And to me, he had commissioners that could have played in this deal and said, here's the number the governor's given to me. This is where we need to be. Yeah. That could have happened, but it didn't. So now here we are
crazy.
Facing this. And keep in mind, the Republicans are 1/6 of this piece as far as really having a control piece. That's all we got, is we got 1/2 of 1/3.
Well, you mark my words, this is how those end up. On the whatever day in June when you guys finally sign this thing, you all rush in, got 1 day. The left will have their 5 bullet points to the papers, and the news are going to say, look at what they did. They got everything that people wanted. And the Republicans will have their 3 or 4 things, say, see what we did. And it's going to be this massive thing. We won't even find out what happened until next year.
That's a possibility. I hope that's not the case, but that is, I don't like the system. I would like to see us just pass bills and take in whatever number I got. We should decide those numbers early on, like you say, as soon as you get in, and then we can start subtracting. Once we get the February forecast, we should be starting to decide what's the number. What's the global target.
We only got 30 seconds.
That in the legislature, not with the governor.
Isn't Minnesota a single issue state? Aren't bills supposed to be on single issue, and every year at the end of the session is just mass? Isn't it?
I agree. The Supreme Court has ruled that a single issue is spending, right?
Oh,
so you can have everything that's spending. But the problem is most of these spending bills have policy in them, and that's where you could argue that this is not a single subject. And that's the deal. It should either be policy or appropriations and spending.
So, only thing I care about now. After session ends, you still going to come to do the show next Thursday, even though you won't be at work?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend.
Someday, next time, though, put it on the list. We got to talk J-turns because MnDOT is shoving J-turns into every place out there to reduce fatalities, regardless if the local people want that nightmare or not.
We'll talk about it. Next week, we'll talk about it. You bet. It's Senator Jeff Howe.
Dust from livestock buildings can be harmful to your animals and to you. Coughing